Hello, I'm Sophia with the Cornellian, and welcome back to the Cornellian podcast. To start off the new year, we asked a professor about stories and students from Cornell past. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Professor James Martin in the music department at Cornell College. I'm going to tell 3 stories about 3 students from different eras of my period here at Cornell. I've been here a long time, since 1981. And the first one is about a student, and she was the class of 1992, and her very first block at Cornell was music theory course with me. She also happened to be my advisee and my piano student. Well, in those days, I would have all my music theory students over to my house, the very first block of music theory, and we would have a party, but they would also all perform. And I would accompany the singers, whatever. We would have a wonderful time doing that. So when it came time for this student to sing, I was blown away by this. This was a voice that was so gigantic and rich and gorgeous that I didn't know what kind of voice this was going to be because the range was so large. But she became a performance major. She went on to graduate school. She prospered there. Then she actually premiered a number of important roles by U.S. composers of operas. She did such roles as Carmen for Houston Opera. She really had quite a career in opera. She specialized in French Baroque opera, and one year I saw that she was singing at the Lyric Opera in Chicago in Richard Strauss's Rosenkavalier. So I went, and then I saw her backstage, and we had a wonderful visit again, and we had a nice, wonderful, beautiful walk and conversation back to her hotel. This was one of those students whose career you never forget. Student number 2, who I'll talk about, and this is now 10 years later, class of 2002. The student was from Japan, fluent in German. He had attended German schools, and he was a violinist. Generally a brilliant student at everything. He was legally blind. He loved baseball, as many Japanese people do, as we know. And he was a pitcher. He loved pitching. And he was actually allowed to pitch in one of the Cornell baseball games, even though I don't know if he could actually see the catcher and the batter. He went on to graduate school in Indiana University's prestigious early music performance doctoral program. It's a very famous program there. He earned a doctorate there in violin performance. And he makes his living as a performing violinist in Europe. He and I just had a very special, loving relationship, and I can still see him now, of course, in my mind, and hear him play in my head. And then student number 3 is a recent student, graduated in 2020. She's from Vietnam, and she was my piano student. She's easily the best piano student I ever had. I met her family. I had them over for dinner when they brought her. One time I met her father several times, a scholar by profession in the social sciences. And when he brought her to me, it was almost like he was giving her to me and putting her in my care as her second father. And that is exactly how it went. I was very much like a father figure to her. She was a brilliant person. She learned English very fast. And she became very interested in American culture. And she really took advantage of Cornell College's liberal arts identity. She was the president of the International Students Club. She took part in all sorts of other things at the college. One summer, she went to an international piano competition in New York. These were competitors from all over the world. And this was the summer before her junior year, and she won one of the prizes. She was very good. And then she was admitted to some very fine graduate schools. She had a nice set of choices. She entered graduate school at Longy Music Conservatory in Boston, and she is still there now. The pandemic, of course, has raised havoc with her progress. She's had to be back in Vietnam, and flights back and forth. Vietnam is trying to keep a very closed society. That's their approach to the pandemic. It's been working quite well for them. And so she went back to Vietnam, and she studied remotely, and she's still trying to keep up and get back to Boston as soon as she can. She was a brilliant pianist, a wonderful human being. One of the magical things about her was how quickly she understood my ideas when I would suggest them to her. She could carry these ideas out at the piano immediately. It took her almost no effort or time to understand what I meant and to understand how I wanted her to carry it out. She was extremely sharp about that. Really wanted to learn. I actually did a summer research project with her, a Cornell Summer Research Institute project on Beethoven. And it was very rewarding because Beethoven is at the center of my life, so it's very rewarding for me to work with her on Beethoven. So those are three special students that have meant a lot to me and that stick out. You know, when I thought about who should I talk about, when I was asked to tell stories about students, I thought about these three students from different time periods of my time here at Cornell.
Thank you for joining us and thank you for listening. If you'd like to see/hear more, go to the Cornellian website. And please join us for our new podcast called Cornellian After Hours or whatever we decide to name it. Thank you.